Hey, tough and the out of this world story from Street Travel. There are ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back in Street Travel.
Story 1. Update. My 24 female fiance's 25 male brother and his girlfriend told us we were disrespectful for getting engaged without their permission. Original post. I, a 24-year-old female, have been with my partner, a 25 male, for 1 year. At New Year's we got engaged and we're so happy. We have a wonderful relationship and everything seemed to be falling into place like a fairy tale. He gets along really well with my mom, and I get along really well with his mom. Unfortunately, my partner, we shall call him Mark, has an older brother, 26 male, who we shall call him Rick, who has a girlfriend, 26 female, to be known as Penny, who a month ago cornered Mark and basically told him he was making a terrible mistake by getting engaged to me and questioned whether he had thought it through. Why? Here are the reasons. 1. Mark should have asked Rick for brotherly guidance and permission before getting engaged because Rick is the older brother and has more experience with women. They seem to think it was disrespectful to get engaged without letting Rick know first. 2. Rick and Penny have been dating for 2 years. We have only been dating for 1 year. They are acting as if they should get the privilege of getting engaged first. Note they are always on the verge of breaking up, constantly fighting, and have no intention of getting engaged anytime soon. 3. I currently have not got a job. I was employed full-time for 8 years starting at the age of 15. I had to stop working for a while due to medical issues. They say Mark is getting taken advantage of financially, even though I am on a pension and pay bills and rent, not to mention doing 100% of the washing, cleaning, ironing, cooking, and laundry. 4. We moved in together before they did. They currently live apart because Penny's family are very strict Christians, Pentecostals. Think of the Duggar family and you're pretty close. But we are living together before they are, and therefore we are disrespecting them. 5. Penny said that she gets the feeling that I do not like her. This is 100% true. I don't like her at all. But I've tried to keep this to myself as much as possible so as not to rock the boat or cause friction. I didn't want to upset Mark or his brother. I tried to believe she wasn't unlikable or that I had misinterpreted it. But after 12 months of continuous bitchiness, I don't think this is the case. Here are some reasons why I dislike Penny. A. She has continuously made comments about my weight. I'm not skinny, but neither is she. Yet she seems to think it's okay to make comments about what I eat and what I wear. She even made comparisons between me and Mark and Rick's mother, who is large. Not only is this insulting to me, but it's insulting to their mother and who I get along with very well. B. She comes from a giant, very strict Pentecostal family. She basically believes that divorce is evil, and because my parents are divorced, I get the impression that she sees me as less of a person. Mark and Rick's parents are also divorced, and she has voiced her opinion to them as well. She said that it was their mother's duty to do what her husband says and to keep the family together, never mind why they divorced. That's her view. See? She also has 8 sisters and a brother. I am an only child. She told me that only children are mentally underdeveloped because they don't get the same mental stimulation. D. Before even meeting me, she went on to Mark's Facebook and looked through my photos and in front of Mark called me ugly and made gross comments and told him to stop dating me. E. Whenever I see Mark's family for lunch or afternoon tea, I bring a plate of something. I think it's good manners. If I'm going somewhere for a meal, I think it's polite to bring something along to share. Penny has made several comments about me trying too hard and trying to outdo her. F. As I like cooking, Mark's mom kindly bought me a special type of cake tin that I was searching for which you can change the shape of for Christmas. She bought Penny a carry-on luggage bag for when she visits Rick, who is currently working interstate. They visit each other once a fortnight. Penny said to me, "Isn't it just fabulous how she knows us both so well? Me a free spirit who is going and you, who stays at home all day and eats." Enough said, really. Gee, she talked in a baby voice all the time. It's not anything she does against me, but it annoys the bejesses out of me. Rick likes to pull the brother's honor card and say that, as an older brother, he should do things first and be in charge. I think this is ridiculous, as they are a year apart in their lives, and where they want to go in life is completely different to one another. Mark is very passive and pretty much does whatever people tell him to do because he doesn't want to cause a stir or offend people. He's a very kind and easygoing person, which I love, but at times he is too easygoing to the point where he gets pushed around and taken advantage of, and I feel like they know this and are using it to their advantage. Mark and Rick's mother is lovely, and I get along with them really well. She is in a tough position because it's her two sons fighting, and she has to be careful not to look like she's ganging up on one or the other. She said that she can't commit to taking sides, which I totally agree with, but she is basically 100% on our side off the record. Henny has said a lot of nasty things to her as well, so she is not aware of the sort of person she is. After cornering Mark and telling him everything that I mentioned above, Mark came home to me understandably very upset. When he came home and told me what had happened, I was furious and hurt. I was so angry that they had behaved that way, and so angry because of how Mark was. It has been a month, and they seem to think that they did everything right and are totally blameless. Mark has spoken on the phone with his brother, and it has ended in arguments. I have had zero contact with them, and if I had my way it would remain this way. I have lost all respect for them both, and I have no desire to have them around. Unfortunately, it is Mark's brother, and he feels we need to sort things out with them. So this Easter weekend we have planned to catch up with them to talk about how it made us feel and why they have overstepped the boundaries. We are apparently seeing them tomorrow, and I feel sick to my stomach about it. I know that Mark keeps telling me that he is 100% on my side and supporting me, but it doesn't always feel that way because even though they've been so hurtful and nasty, he is trying too hard to be chummy with them when they do speak. To me, this is making them think that they behaved correctly and that me being upset is all my fault and that I'm overreacting. I feel like he wants to bury his head in the sand and pretend nothing has happened, but I just cannot do that. I am scared that when we meet them, I will be a sitting duck and get attacked by them, and anything I say about how I feel will be shot down. While Mark sits there and says nothing to support me because he doesn't want to get into an argument. I don't want to get into an argument either, but it seems almost unavoidable. What can I say when we see them tomorrow? I feel like everything just whirls around in my head, and I can't straighten any of it out. I don't believe that I will ever feel comfortable around them or want them over in our home. Can anyone give me a different perspective? Sorry for the rambling. My opinion is, who the heck cares about what they think? The most important thing to you should be just your relationship with Mark, and you need to discuss with him that he needs to really support you no matter what, especially in situations where there could be conflict. But yes, I do agree that your fiancé needs to grow a backbone, that's for sure. But at the same time, focus on what's more important, and that's your relationship with him, and just ignore everybody else. Best of luck to you, Op. Now for the comments before reading the update. As the other commenter suggested, I would just ignore them. You don't have to be passive-aggressive, especially if it seems that the girlfriend loves the attention. What's important is your relationship with your fiancé, who you care about. You have a great relationship with his mom. Who cares what an envious girlfriend of your fiancé's brother thinks? When you see her, I would suggest you behave kindly. When she makes offensive remarks, pretend you don't hear them. After a while, she will see that her catty words get no response, and the rest of your fiancé's family will see what a mature person you are. It truly isn't worth it. She has low self-esteem. Don't let yourself be a victim of her disordered mind. If your fiancé's brother feels like he should always be the first, then he should drop down on one knee and propose to his girlfriend or STFU. Perhaps his girlfriend feels threatened that after 2 years her own boyfriend hasn't made any moves to further their commitment. But you and your fiancé are moving right along. Your fiancé's brother's relationship issues are not your problem. Ignore them and celebrate what sounds like a great relationship. Seriously, echoing everything Yoko said, they can think you're being disrespectful all they want. That doesn't have to affect you and your relationship with Mark in any way, shape, or form. They're acting elitist and entitled to some odd version of respect, which sounds more like couples envy, if anything, and pressuring you two to do what they want because they deserve it more because they said so, and they're older, so that obviously means they're entitled to all that over you. Congratulations on your engagement and enjoy your life and relationship together. Don't let anyone dictate who you love, how you love, or make decisions for your relationship and happiness. I assure you this is their problem and theirs alone. I can feel you. My sister was totally like this. 5 years older than myself though. She went through the first thing as well. She didn't speak to me for a year after I got married. She also didn't speak to me for a year or so after my wife and I had our daughter because we didn't wait long enough after she had my niece. It sucks and sometimes we just have to let these people do and say what they want and ignore them for a time. We are fine with my sister now. When she makes the snide comments we just ignore her and she gets the message. We don't let someone else run our lives because they think they know better than us. I do want to say that we at least listen when she tries to give advice nicely, but as soon as the snark comes out, so do the earplugs. Good luck. God, I can only imagine what it will be like if Rick and Penny get married and have kids too. There will be constant competition, which is awful because neither Mark nor myself want to compete at all. People need to accept that they're not always going to be the first to do things. Now for the update. Wow, this really blew up more than I expected it to. So when I last left you guys yesterday, Mark and I were going to meet Poisonous Penny and Rick the Dick to talk. In the morning I was getting ready to leave, makeup, hair, etc. Mark popped down to the local supermarket to grab some Easter eggs to give to his mom and grandma. I had my phone on the bathroom bench and it started to ring. It was Rick. I didn't pick up because he has never called me and I didn't know what to do or say. I texted Mark and told him and he rang me immediately and said, for God's sake, if they ring again don't pick up. Just blasted me in the middle of the grocery aisle. Mark was shopping and got a call from Rick's number. He picked up and they were on loudspeakers. Penny seemed very agitated and asked something about when we were meeting. Mark said that they were not going to be in good moods, it might not be best to meet, and we should rearrange to another time when they were calm. She blasted him with obscene, calling us both cowards who were hiding and sarcastically telling him he was such a big man, so obviously we didn't go to meet them last night. I got a message on Facebook from Penny saying it's time for you to confront the issues you have with me. There's been a lot of talk about you being upset with me, but I haven't heard a single thing about it coming directly from you from now on. If you have a problem with me, take it up directly with me. It's not fair for Mark's family to have to deal with your issues. It's also very distressing for them. Unfortunately, I didn't see the message until this morning when she also said, I'll come to you to sort this out. I can come over to your house if that suits you. First off, not coming to my house certainly doesn't suit me. As if I would let her come into my home, OMG, is she nuts? Secondly, since when was this just about me? Yes, she has been worse to me than to Mark, but she has still been a total bitch to the both of us regarding our relationship. I replied, Penny, I think both Mark and I are fully justified for not wanting to speak to you considering your behavior. You have been rude and offensive at every opportunity and quite frankly we have both had enough. I have avoided messaging you directly up to now out of respect to Mark as we are both involved in this together, and he doesn't want me to blast you with a torrent of obscene. I was so furious with you and Rick at your behavior. You both need to grow up and learn respect for others. Yesterday your behavior was yet again childish. I was ready to leave to finally meet you and give you a piece of my mind when Mark came home saying the whole thing was off because you screamed down the phone at him. How big of you. As for coming over to my house, I do not think so. You've criticized every single thing about me. Oh yes, Penny, I am well aware of what you say behind my back. Thank you. And if you think I'm inviting you into my home, you have another thing coming when you and Rick decide to behave like adults. You know where we are. Until then, don't talk to me. I have better things to do with my time. I know it's hot-headed, but I couldn't help it. I just can't believe what a nutter she is. Geez, she seems to think this is all just me being uppity, but involves all of us, even though I feel I've been attacked more than Mark. Mark is just as hurt as I am. The only good thing to come out of all this is that Mark is now really pissed. I felt like although he said he was there for me before, he wasn't in doubt and wanted to sit on the fence a bit, but now she's blasted him directly. He's got his back up too. Story 2. It reads, Update, my 34 male wife 28 female wants to name her baby after her dead ex-boyfriend. Original post, when my wife and I met she had broken up with her boyfriend almost a year prior. We went on a couple of dates until I noticed that she slowly stopped talking to me. I found out that she had gotten back with her boyfriend. We remained friendly since we would run into each other at the gym. That's how we met. A year later they break up. I decided to go for it again and asked her out. She was pretty upfront about him, and I learned that they had been off and on for almost 4 years. She left him because he started to get obsessive. We get married a little over a year later. A few months later she gets pregnant. Last week, I was sitting in the kitchen studying until I hear my wife yell out, crying. I ran over to her to ask her what was wrong. She had difficulty speaking, but she eventually showed me a post on Facebook that a mutual friend between her and her ex had posted. Her ex had gotten into a motorcycle accident and had died. My wife was and is an avid motorcyclist who stopped riding once she got pregnant. She knew how passionate he was about motorcycle riding just as much as her and how tragic it is. I console my wife and help her get to bed, letting her know that I'm here for her. I didn't think much about the whole thing until my wife told me last night that she wants to name her baby after him. I hesitated for a bit and told her that I feel uncomfortable with it. For one, it's her ex. Second, he was obsessive. Why would she want to honor someone like that? My wife got pretty upset and just wouldn't hear me out on my reasons. She won't talk to me at all. Am I really in the wrong here? I'm just thinking that my wife is extremely emotional at the moment since she's pregnant and trying to process her ex's death. Any advice? Now for the update. Hi all. Wow. So this post got a lot more traction than I expected. First of all, I want to thank you all for your advice and showing your concerns not just for myself, but for my wife. It means a lot. Now on to the update. For Easter we had plans with her family to see any tension. I saw this as a chance for her to have to speak to me. As we're getting ready for church, I tell her that we need to talk about everything now. She agreed and sat down with me. I did tell her that there is absolutely no way we're naming our baby after her ex or any of our kids if we even have more. She agreed and apologized for acting irrational. Also, I know a lot of you suggested that I get a paternity test. I know that I'm 100% the father. I didn't want anyone to get my anxiety up since, while it may seem rational jumping into an extreme conclusion and making things worse, I thought it out. But I still did ask if she was still in love with her ex and if she did cheat. She adamantly said no. She had already stopped loving him even before they broke up. She tried to make the relationship work, but she just wasn't in love with him anymore. She described him as not being a good person at all. She apologized for making me feel that way. I told her that I understand that she's going through a lot of emotions right now and being pregnant doesn't help at all. But I had to ask why she would want to name her baby after him, even after all she has told me. She started to get choked up and was shaking. I told her that she could tell me. She confessed that when her and her ex broke up, the last thing that she told him was that she wished he would fall off his bike and die. Also, the bike that he died riding on was a bike that she strongly suggested that he'd buy, even though it wasn't his first choice. She also talked about how accidentally getting pregnant and her ex suddenly dying is a lot for her to handle. She wasn't expecting to be a mom so soon, and her life is about to change when she really didn't want it to. She talked about how she thought we'd travel and that she'd continue racing her motorcycle. Now she's not even sure if she'd be able to ride again. She actually thought that she might be able to ride again once she had the baby, but her ex's death reminded her how much of a risk it is. She doesn't want to risk her life when she has a family. She feels gutted. Regardless, she kept stressing out to me on how she wouldn't change a thing about her life now, and that she's happy to be married to me and is going to be a mom. We're the best things that has ever happened to her. Anxiety also runs in my wife's family. My wife gets intrusive thoughts about how her ex died too. It's so bad that she has had a hard time sleeping sometimes. After discussing things, she's decided that she'll be going into therapy. She has her first appointment this week. Story 3. In my day hole, I yelled at my daughter-in-law for missing her own son's birth. My daughter gave birth. This is pretty simple in my opinion. My daughter, I'll call her Amber, 28 female, and her wife Chloe, 32 female, decided to have a baby. Amber was due next week and asked me to come and stay with her for a few days until she gave birth. I gladly did. All this time Chloe, who is a doctor, worked crazy hours and barely paid Amber any attention. I kept it to myself and thought it would be best if I didn't say anything about it. 2 days ago, Amber's water broke and I rushed her to the hospital. She gave birth a week earlier than expected and she needed to have an emergency C-section. All this time I was trying to reach Chloe and she was not available. She showed up a few hours after the birth and said that she was sorry she was in the OR and didn't have her phone with her at the time. I got really mad and called her irresponsible. Said it was crazy that she misses her own son's birth and asked her to explain what would have happened if Amber had some kind of complication during the C-section. Chloe said that she couldn't let someone die under her supervision because of this and made it as soon as she could. I still can't believe she obviously doesn't prioritize Amber or her son, but my poor daughter thinks otherwise. She has rose-colored glasses on whenever Chloe is around. Anyway, ever since Amber told me I was out of line and needed to apologize to her wife, she said Chloe already felt horrible and it was not her fault. Chloe hasn't said a word to me, and by the way she still goes to the hospital and doesn't seem to care that her son is here. Was I really the a-hole here? Now for the comments. You are the a-hole. Your daughter asked you to stay with her probably knowing her wife was not able to stop taking calls because of her work. Surgeons work brutal hours. Is Chloe still in residency? At 32, it seems likely that she's either in residency or a very junior position, and probably on call all the time. If Amber is feeling like her emotional needs are met, don't create problems where they don't exist. Exactly. She's working hard to build a life with a career and baby arriving is medical bills, nursery fees, and a whole-ass life to pay for. Working a ton the weeks before a baby's due is being a great parent. If you know lesbian couples, queer relationships without cis man, the ones who take sort of breadwinner roles, often not the one, goes through the pregnancy and take career interruption risk, work really hard to support the family since it's still not as easy to make the same income and career advancements as men.